Hello everyone, and welcome to the fifth and final video in the Reading and Writing Standards Update series. We have looked at, in video 1, we looked at the revision process of the Reading and Writing Standards. Video 2, the organization and structure. Video 3, we really looked closely at the breakdown view and the multidimensionality portion of the Reading and Writing Revised Standards. And to me, that section and video 3 is the most helpful to the classroom teacher in your daily work and aligning grade appropriate lessons for your students aligned to the standards. And then in video 4, we took some time and actually looked specifically at the revisions. The video is called Revisions to Note, and we looked at those based on the guiding principles and also individual standards. So in this video, we are going to focus on reading foundational skills. Our learning goal is that we're going to build a shared understanding of the spotlight on early literacy because K-3 probably has the most tweaks and revisions and rigor added of all of the standards. We want to know the importance of the instructional implications for K-3 standards and how they impact grades 4 and 5. We covered many of the revised standards, the overall, in video 4. So video 4 and video 5 both contain information about the K-3 standards, but this video is just going to focus on reading foundational skills. So let's call it In the Spotlight, Early Literacy. Now, the K-5 academic standards for reading and writing include expectations in what we have already covered in the other videos, but let's revisit them and remember them. The reading foundational skills that are applicable across all disciplines, the reading literature and reading informational text, handwriting, composition, and language. Now, one thing that I really want to help you understand as we go through what you're getting ready to see, these revisions align with and build upon the early childhood standards so that we're giving our first graders, our kindergartners, first graders, second, third grade, we're giving them developmentally appropriate progression as they transition from preschool to kindergarten or kindergarten to first grade and so on. So these don't need to be taken lightly. We need to think about the rigor that we are and the high expectations we have for our kindergarten through 5th grade. Let's take a minute and talk about that rigor, the rigorous grade level expectations for K-5. Now, the standards articulate that rigorous grade level expectation, and it's for the beginning, developing that infrastructure for the essential early literacy skills that students are going to need as they progress through the years. And the reading, literature, and informational text strands have certainly increase their rigor, which includes analysis. And here is a great example for you. Kindergarten standards now include making inferences to construct meaning rather than waiting to see that happen and grade appropriate at 3rd grade, as our previous standards did. And I've had the opportunity to do several of these region-wide trainings with K-5 teachers, K-8 teachers, and 9-12 teachers. And I have yet to hear an elementary teacher say that students at kindergarten can't understand what it means to inference because of the instruction that's provided to them. So our standards really are just giving our kids more credit and we're saying, yes, you can do this, but as the standards have done, have given teachers a guideline. And another example I always use in the trainings is the word claim. Claim was not introduced for several years in the progression of standards. Kindergartners can understand what it means to make a claim when a teacher provides that instruction for them. So we're looking at what kids in the 21st century in kindergarten are capable of doing, or all through K-5. Also, now, multiple standards and practices focus on the development of schema and building content knowledge. And that focus is carried all the way through the standards, K-12, and about intentionally building that prior knowledge and intentionally instructing students that's what we're doing. We are building those files in the brain that they can go back and pull in other classes or as they progress through K-12 school about, you have it, you have to go back and pull it out. And the standards are very specific, as I said, K-12, and doing this. Standard 10 addresses the need to teach comprehension strategies, beginning in kindergarten, of course, and continuing all the way through grade 12, because we are at kindergarten beginning the process in the scaffolding of learning for kids to teach them how to comprehend and analyze. Senate Bill 1 in 2017 required that standard revision focus on critical knowledge, skills, and capacities for success. And our standards have done that to ensure that alignment is from elementary to high school. And one of the things I want to share with you, the writing teams were composed of very experienced K through 5 classroom teachers and university experts, one of them whom is nationally known for her work in early literacy. So we know that what has been added or what has been tweaked within our reading and writing standards for early literacy meet the demands of what evidence and research is showing us our kids are capable of doing. Now that we've gotten to the purpose and why we're doing this, let's look at why, again, the importance of the standards revisions. And we have the critical thinking skills. When we talk about providing those intentional opportunities, we want them to be at a high enough level for kids to be able to bloom and blossom and learn more than what we maybe had held back based on previous standards. They promote the activation of those critical thinking skills as students begin to process the meaning of text. Again, through that comprehension and analysis in early primary. And obviously, when we talk about comprehension and analysis in early primary, we're not talking about what you would see at, say, 4th and 5th grade and on. It's going to look very different, which in turn means that instructional shifts will have to happen with our early primary. Change is uncomfortable sometimes, but the revisions to the early literacy standards were aligned, we've got to remember this, to current evidence-based research for developmentally appropriate progressions. And one of the things that I like so well that will be such an aid for K-5 teachers is back, if you have viewed video 3, you know that the standard, the breakdown view of the standards has that progression on one page with the standard already deconstructed for you through the multidimensionality, and really will help you and guide you as you make these instructional shifts. I want us to keep in mind that when looking at this last bullet on the screen, what our ultimate goal is in doing these introductions to higher level critical thinking is we're building that foundation so that students, as they progress, they have the skills and knowledge that are critical to being successful as in later years as they go through, and ultimately into the transition after high school. So I think in terms of these, especially for our K through teachers, you are the very beginning level of giving our kids the skills to be literate citizens, because reading and writing are skills that it doesn't matter what content you're in, what job you're in, what career you choose, college or career, you must have those important literacy skills to be successful. Now, let's go back again. I want to remind you that what you're seeing today is meant to be an overview, because you will need, in your individual schools and districts, you'll need more time to investigate the revisions at specific grade levels and especially the progressions. But today, again, we're going to focus on the strand of reading foundational skills. But this slide is just giving you a reminder. Here are all of the 6 strands for early literacy. We're going to take a look first of all at what we have seen as some of the changes and revisions by standards. First of all, what you're seeing on the screen, Reading Foundational Standard 1, the category is Print Concepts, and the focus grades are K1. Standard 2, Phonological Awareness, also the focus is at grade 1. Reading Foundational Standard 3, Phonics and Word Recognition, carries all the way through the elementary, K5. And so does Fluency in Standard 4, carry all the way through. When we think about print concepts and phonological awareness, they are definitely the major focus for kindergarten and first grade. And again, phonics and word recognition and fluency, they begin in kindergarten, but they also need to carry all the way through grade 5. And one thing I want you to remember is that though some of these strand categories are not formally included in grade level, it's imperative that teachers understand the progression. So as a grade level, you will look at these standards individually, but you must look at them through the progression, K5, so that everyone has that understanding of the progression of these foundational skills in order to meet the needs of all your learners. So let's look at each one a little deeper. In print concepts, or standard 1, the addition has been made of the phrase to aid in comprehension. And the reason that's been added is to draw attention to the importance in learning about organization and basic features of print for purpose of understanding. And then when we talk about phonological awareness, the standards writers here combine some standards and remove some language that we already had in the standards in order to meet that requirement of Senate Bill 1 to result in fewer but more in-depth standards so that we could communicate the expectation more concisely. And again, I want to refer you back to the multidimensionality of the standards. They really assist teachers in knowing where the focus is and where the content, comprehension, and analysis part of the standards are. So I really want to encourage you, again, to look at the multidimensionality. It's critical that teachers of early learners examine closely all of these standards, but phonological awareness, we have to remember, it is the best predictor of early reading. And because of this, students must have ongoing purposeful practice with the standards for phonological awareness. And sometimes when I'm sharing this information with teachers, I'll use the old adage, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, because classrooms that I've observed, teachers I've observed working in groups through the years, they understand that. You understand the game plan, that it doesn't magically happen K1, that we have to carry on through. It's going to happen other grades too. So using formative assessment of these standards is imperative, because we want to move kids through as far as we can in a grade level. So having the progression on one page and looking at what the intent of the standard is, and having it right there in front of you for the teacher, it's one of the best things that I can say about our standards document now. When we're looking at Standard 3, phonics and word recognition, when we're looking at reading foundational skills, for phonics and word recognition, the revisions, the intent is to promote the necessity for systematic phonics instruction. And I think for a while we kind of moved away in some areas from thinking in those terms, that it must be a systematic phonics instruction. For instance, the progression from high-frequency words to decoding regularly spelled one-syllable words is intentional. And, in our daily work and needing to move on, sometimes we don't reteach that enough and provide students lots of opportunities for the decoding and why one-syllable words are intentional. So the specific language added to or replacing other languages in some of the standards supports teaching phonics, that students learn phonics in a systematic manner. And so when we think about that, I think a lot about a teacher's professional learning. All teachers did not have the same exact experiences in their teacher prep. And so I really want to advocate, whether you're an administrator listening to this or a teacher, that if you need help in addressing the teaching of a systematic phonics system, that you let your administrator know, or that an administrator takes the time to just say, do you need some professional learning related to the phonics instruction? There are lots of online opportunities for that, as well as face-to-face opportunities. So just I want to encourage you to be very intentional about letting your administration know if you need assistance in this area. In looking at Reading Foundational Standards 4, we're talking about fluency. Now, a statement about reading fluently on grade level to support comprehension has been added at the beginning of each K-5 fluency standard. What I want to say here is, let's talk a little bit about what fluency is. Now, fluency is defined as accuracy, the speed, and porosity. And what that means is the patterns of rhythm and sound. It's the patterns of stress and intonation in a language, so that teaching of rhyme, especially at kindergarten and first grade, is so important, because the rhythm from rhyming words, or just rhymes in particular, it helps a student develop that flow of connected speech, that comes from the combination of stressed and unstressed words and pauses in a phrase or a sentence. And rhythm is the best way to help our kids learn that process. It just becomes a natural part of everything. Now, reading fluently on grade level to support comprehension is an expectation, K-5, but it's important to recognize fluency at the print concepts, phonological awareness, phonics, and word recognition should be the combined focus in kindergarten. I'm going to say that again. Print concepts, phonological awareness, phonics, and word recognition should be the combined focus in kindergarten. Fluency really comes into play by the middle to the end of first grade, and it's definitely a strong focus in second grade and beyond. And I don't think there needs to be a lot of clarification about that, because kids have to learn to be able to pronounce the words and comprehend a little bit of what they're reading. And so we work in that area. Fluency, I think teachers will use their best judgment there when it's appropriate to either assess or look at fluency, but really it comes into play at the middle to the end of first grade. And there is the important to note. Fluency comes into that gives you that information that I've just said, because I forgot to hit the button. As I'm winding up, I want to give you a resource. Dion Bates, who at that time was the Achievement Gap Coordinator for Literacy, in our KVEX Special Education Co-op. We did some trainings last year, and we worked with K-5 with the Reading Foundational Skills, and we looked at them in alignment with the 5 essential components of reading that you see there on the right side, the essential components of reading. And we also have in quotation mark the word attack skills. And then on the left side, you are seeing what you just heard from me about our reading foundational skills. We didn't specifically mention vocabulary, but vocabulary is a part of our reading foundational skills. What I want to do here is we have a resource, especially for those teachers who say, I need some more instruction about how to ensure that I am teaching phonics in a systematic way. The Florida Center for Reading Research, you have the website there. There are so many vetted activities, strategies, and most of all, background information for teachers to understand why we're doing what we're doing. So I strongly encourage you to visit this. And the best thing about this, it's free. So there are lots of programs out there, but this one is a free one. As I'm concluding, I want to draw your attention to this slide. It is the end slide on every one of the previous videos. We have all the resources available at this Google Drive. For each one of the videos any resource that we talked about or referred to, they are available for you at this site. Our upcoming videos and instruction, we are going to move into the 10 interdisciplinary literacy practices included in the reading and writing standards, and try to help and give clarification of what that would look like in a classroom at different levels.